Prime Video's mystery thriller The Better Sister is an adaptation of an award-winning novel, but it takes quite a few creative liberties with its source material. The Better Sister was originally written by Alafair Burke in 2019, and it was quickly placed on several Best Book of the Year lists and adapted into the Prime Video drama show. With Jessica Biel and Elizabeth Banks leading the cast of The Better Sister, and such prodigious source material, it's clear to see why reviews for The Better Sister are so praiseworthy. With a thrilling plot, complicated characters, and a fascinating mystery, The Better Sister had a lot of advantages. Curiously, and unlike many other book adaptations, one of The Better Sister's biggest advantages was the changes it made from the original novel. There were plenty of things that Prime Video retooled when adapting the book into a live-action show, and most of them worked out tremendously well. They helped The Better Sister show stand on its own, and in some cases, they turned somewhat forgettable characters into true highlights of the story. These 8 changes are the biggest in The Better Sister, and almost all of them turned out to be for the best. 8. The Better Sister show examines Chloe and Nikki's relationship in much more depth. The book is more focused on the mystery of Adam's murder than Nikki and Chloe's relationship. The single biggest difference between The Better Sisters book and show concerned the relationship between Chloe and Nikki. In the book, Chloe and Nikki's sisterhood takes a back seat to the mystery surrounding Adam's death. There are still the same reveals about Nikki's bad childhood and Adam's abuse of both of the sisters, and there are plenty of heartbreaking moments in the book, but their sibling dynamic is much more fleshed out in The Better Sister show. The show devotes much more time to highlighting how the sisters interact with one another and how their years of bad blood have affected them, which benefits the series. 7. Nancy Guidry and Matt Bowen are very different in The Better Sister book. Guidry is a much simpler character, while Bowen is depicted as a misogynist. The two main detectives of The Better Sister, Nancy Guidry, Kim Dickens, and Matt Bowen, Bobby Nadery, are also significantly different in the show than they are in the book. Matt, for instance, is depicted as a misogynist and something of an incompetent detective in The Better Sister book. His show counterpart, on the other hand, is a fairly normal man with strong ties to his family and no clear bigotry in his work. He also has a much better relationship with Guidry because of his lack of sexism in the show. There were even more changes to Guidry's character. In the book, Guidry's first name is Jennifer instead of Nancy, and she's a much more straight-laced, predictable character than Dickens' character in the show. Jennifer Guidry is essentially portrayed the same way the show portrays Matt, as a good, competent detective who gets fooled by Chloe's frame job. Nancy Guidry, however, is a mean, sarcastic, and brutal police officer with a dark past and a burning hatred of both Chloe and Nikki. The Better Sisters version of Guidry is much more complex and fascinating. 6. The Better Sister book doesn't cover Nikki's AA meetings or include Ken. Nikki's sobriety isn't a big part of The Better Sister, and she never meets Ken. Ken, Paul Sparks, and Nikki, Elizabeth Banks, fishing in The Better Sister. The detectives weren't the only characters who were changed in The Better Sister show. In the book, Nikki is depicted as a completely sober person who was wild and struggling with addiction in her youth, but she's put those troubles behind her. The Better Sister show dives much further into Nikki's substance misuse and sobriety, even going as far as to include her Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and her sponsor boyfriend, Ken, Paul Sparks. The book has none of those moments or even Ken's character because Nikki's sobriety just isn't a focus of the story. 5. Nikki doesn't have hallucinations of her father in the book. Hank comes up in memories, but Nikki isn't literally haunted by him. Hank, Frederick Weller, in The Better Sister. The Better Sister made another big change to Nikki outside her sobriety. Throughout The Better Sister, Nikki has hallucinations of her father, Hank, Frederick Weller. She often speaks to him and sees him in moments of doubt, as his abusive presence is a real strain on her. While Nikki's memories of how Hank abused her as a child were important to The Better Sister book, he never appeared as a vision to her. She reckons with the memory of her father, and many of the show's reveals about Nikki's childhood are the same, but she never sees a literal ghostly visage of Hank. 4. Nikki doesn't relapse in The Better Sister book. Nikki's sobriety wasn't ever in jeopardy in the book. Cassandra Freeman and Nikki, Elizabeth Banks, drinking gin in The Better Sister. Another offshoot of the show's decision to focus more on Nikki's sobriety influenced a big moment midway through the season. During Adam's wake, Nikki briefly relapses and gets drunk again for the first time in 5 years. It leads to a bad night where she sleeps with a waiter, nearly drowns in a pool, and ends up seeing her dad in a seedy bar. The book isn't interested in Nikki's sobriety, however, so she never relapses and many of those scenes simply don't happen. The Better Sister book draws more drama out of Nikki by focusing on her history of abuse, rather than her sobriety issues in the modern day. That a major subplot in The Better Sister also got a much clearer explanation in the show than it did in the book. Throughout The Better Sister, Chloe was trying to investigate Gentry Group, a conglomerate Adam represented, and was trying to spy on for the FBI. In the book, it's not entirely clear what Gentry Group's crimes are, though there are some references to an international bribing scheme. The actual crimes Gentry committed aren't very important in the novel, and they're just used as an excuse to make Braddock's downfall more justified. The show, however, fleshed Gentry Group out quite a bit more. Through bits and pieces of dialogue, mostly from Jake, Gabriel Sloyer, we learn that Gentry Group was involved in human trafficking, indentured servitude, and manslaughter. Gentry was involved in building arenas and stadiums for sports and other events overseas, and Jake made it clear that the only way they could operate at such low costs and fast timetables was by effectively practicing slavery. It made Gentry a much bigger villain in The Better Sister, and it made Braddock's sins even more heinous. One of the best additions The Better Sister made while adapting the book concerned Nancy Guidry again. In the book, Guidry just arrests Bill Braddock and her story ends, similarly to what Bowen does in the show. In the show, however, Guidry's past police brutality is outed, she's put on administrative leave, and she has to face the consequences of her actions. She also doesn't figure out that Nikki killed Adam in the book, and she's mostly just a tool for Chloe's frame job rather than an adversary for them to take down. The changes The Better Sister show made to Guidry's ending were really a result of the changes to her personality. Because Guidry was a better, meaner detective than her book counterpart, The Better Sister had to give her a much more involved conclusion to her story. It wouldn't have made sense if Guidry just blindly accepted Braddock as the killer, and it wouldn't have been poetic justice if she just got to